That's the theme today.
No one ever gonna survive unless we have a little crazy.
So that's my theme for you today. You're never going to survive the investment world unless you realize that it's a little bit crazy and you have to do some things that maybe at first glance seem crazy but really aren't. So we're gonna sketch that out for you. So we have to do the headline, couple of headlines this morning. Just okay. All the stock markets in the world are about $110 trillion. Okay. We're about 45% of that. And half of that is our big tech companies. Okay. Now, before we go any further with that, though, we do have to do a little bit of a Trump impersonation because overnight he said, unbelievable. Loser Iran, terrorizing the Middle East for thousands of years. They're losers. So I know it's funny. It's a little crazy, right? We're half the world's stock market, and half of that is big tech. And we have to talk about what this massive overinvestment that everybody is in, what potentially could happen. Simply said, there's a bit of a pushback against not just Palantir, but the whole investment thesis of big tech is winning. Big tech is the future of AI. That appears to be not necessarily a very good investment thesis. In fact, it's already begun. I didn't even know this until this morning. That's why I pushed this off for an hour. The big cities in America have already started to push back on things like surveillance technology. And as I reported last week, Switzerland has banned Palantir. Palantir works through all AI systems. So the quote that I posted just a little while ago, was the CEO of Palantir saying that effectively tech is going to be nationalized. I do a thing on Friday night. I call it The Nationalist. And that's my thesis. What Trump is really doing. It sounds like I'm contradicting myself. I'm saying that the stock market is where the U.S. stock market is where the Japanese stock market was in 1987, when it went down 80% and never came back for 35 or 40 years. It was at 40% of GDP. I'm sorry, 40% of global market cap. So Palantir said, I don't have the exact quote in front of me. Let's see if I can get it. He was speaking in the Silicon Valley, and he said, if you think Palantir is going to take all the AI all the white collar jobs and military jobs, you have to realize that Palantir is going to be that AI is going to be nationalized. In a time of war, this doesn't work, because I think what's going to happen, or my thesis goes like this. Palantir was used in Gaza. It was called Lavender. Palantir was used to create the immigration OS that was used in Minnesota and Minneapolis. Palantir has just been used in Iran to murder 200 little girls at a Iranian prep school. See where I'm going with this? The political risk built into this nationalization of big tech is something you have to take very, very seriously. The big cities are already pushing back against this kind of surveillance state, this corporate surveillance system. It's not even controlled by Congress. It's not controlled by the Supreme Court or anything. And more people are talking about that the governors of the United States have their own state of emergency capacities. In other words, Iran is a loser, loser Iran. Okay, that was funny. It was just like a little bit of a comic relief there. But the political fallout against American technology here in California, it's the culture of Steve Jobs was, he was a big hippie. It sort of grew out of like the counterculture of the 1960s, right? And like computers became the new thing to like open up your mind, and then the iPhone, you get the joke. Now this is by a guy who like jokes about. I've seen Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, talk about the fact that Palantir was used to keep the alternative for Deutschland. It's called far right. They're just sort of like in America, they would just be called Republicans. That Palantir was used to keep them from winning an election. Is this really what American corporate technology is all about? And if so, the political risk is massive. It's $25 trillion. So Oracle, it's the big names, right? And the idea here is that they're really all working with each other through AI, right? Because AI can just Google Gemini, Oracle, that basically the internet is just one big thing that we control. So those are some investment problems. Another one is it doesn't appear that the Straits of Hormuz has been closed. It appears that the new president of Iran just apologized to the Gulf states. I did a thing last night and I said, this is parlay, people. This is just renegotiations. But the new vision of what it looks like in the Persian Gulf is it's not that it's closed. It's only certain ships are allowed in and out, and that's being controlled by Iran and China. Hold on. And it was hinted at yesterday and the day before. Putin was interviewed and he said, Europe doesn't want our gas, so we're just going to make not recommendations. We're just going to make accommodations to start sending it all to Asia. We're not going to send any gas. Think of this for a minute. The price of gas in Germany in the last 48 hours has almost doubled because of this. So what I'm getting at is like the global trade flows that we've all known and loved for the last 80 years. Let's just go to Reagan, just since like 1980. Just to do the crude math, the stock market when Reagan entered, think of this, when Reagan entered the stock market, Reagan entered the White House, stock market was at 1,000 within like 16 months. It had hit 1,000 for the first time back during the Vietnam War, 1966. 15 years later, it hit 1,000, and today it's at 50,000. It's a little bit below that, but just you get the joke. That what created a 50x return in the stock market, in the American stock market, has very, very significantly changed because of the Iran war, namely the Persian Gulf, because that's the heart that pumps the dollars all around the earth. Okay, every time a ship goes in and out of there, the money goes to New York. It's just sort of that simple. That's just changed in the last week. If you just stick around for a couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to do about it. So Palantir, gas is cut off. It's my belief that the Ukraine war was to cut off the gas to Europe so they'd have to buy it all from us. And by us, I don't mean us. By us, I mean North America and under the control of the Rothschilds. I know it sounds sort of goofy and conspiratorial, but they published something in the Financial Times and said our operations are going to go merge with the Rockefellers in North America because of the fracking of the gas. It's just that simple. Now Europe's going to have to buy pretty much all their gas from us. So Putin, Palantir, there's one other thing that will come to me. Now, when you're thinking about investing, Buffett just said as the war broke out in an interview, he said, "Well, I certainly don't want to be in cash if there's another war." A lot of people are looking at this as World War III. I look at it as the end of World War III, and it started on 9/11. And it's the exact same story we've heard since 9/11, was just now aimed at Iran. Actually, if you listen to that bizarre tweet or Truth Social thing that Trump put out, he's actually like expressing that. Let me see if I can find it. It's so ridiculous. I don't even want to say it because it just sounds like a Tim Dillon skit. But Iran is the dominant power in the Middle East. And the whole war on terror was to make Israel the dominant power in the Middle East. And now that's no longer the case. I mean, I'm sure you're seeing missile strikes in Israel and other places that are like terrifying. I mean, like a whole office building, just one missile hit it, and the building went down like like it was made out of wood. All right. So the stock market generally performs better with like a low amount of inflation. When there's lots of inflation and it pushes on the bond market, pushes interest rates up. That's what happened in the 1970s. That's very bad day for the market. That's why the market went nowhere in the 1970s. Now, we don't have inflation that's approaching double digits. And in fact, we don't even, as published, we have like 3% inflation. I think it's considerably more than that, but that's just my own private little conspiracy. So what I'm getting at is we may have a change in cash flows globally that does not at all support 40% of global market cap. And you're going to need tools to reallocate. And you're going to have this sensation of like, what do I do? Sell all my stocks? Do I just buy all gold? And no, that just traditionally, that I just heard Charlie Munger this morning say, he said, he's the sidekick of Warren Buffett. He said, we've spent most of our time not trying to be very intelligent, but just not be stupid. So with these big changes in global trade, 73 cents of every dollar invested coming out of COVID would go into US dollars, would go into US assets. 73%. See, that's what I'm getting at. Those things that we've thought are a natural occurrence in the universe, I think have just changed. Furthermore, if you look at these big tech companies, they have cash flow problems. Like they're burning cash, they're borrowing money. I won't get into it, but like to hundreds of billions of dollars. That's why Oracle just laid off 30,000 employees. They have been massively buying back their stock, like $300 to $400 billion a year. That's going to end. That's going to end. Who's going to replace the $400 billion? Okay, here's what I wanted to get back into the Palantir thing. Sorry, it took me a minute, but you got some other good data points. I think that Palantir will eventually be boycotted by the Democratic Party and much of the Republican Party at the state level. I think there's going to be a pushback against Palantir as the point of this nationalized tech, which everybody will see is just run by a bunch of wackos like Larry Ellison, the biggest contributor to the IDF. This will be a big pushback against the ideology of surveillance and war and ethnic cleansing, etc. See where I'm going? This is a big social capital problem. Canvas. What's Canvas? Okay, here's the solution. This is why we're back in San Diego. Canvas is a very sophisticated allocation product created by Franklin Templeton. I think it's the 12th largest mutual fund company. They manage $1.7 trillion. Franklin Templeton sort of created the popular view of global investing. Up until John Templeton, that's where the name comes from, People just looked at the New York Stock Exchange and the Dow Jones Industrial Averages, where all the action was coming out of World War II. And he was the one that said, wait a minute. America, we know America's big and, half of the world's economy and so forth, but there's all these other little countries that are developing, like Korea, for example. Canvas is the tool, and I won't go into all the details of what you can use it for, to reallocate and make new, more traditional kinds of allocations, because you do want to have exposure to emerging markets and global markets and the United States. And you don't want this massive allocation to big tech, if what I just said for the last 10 minutes is true. And thirdly, there is this new asset class that we commonly call crypto, which is then being called digital assets, which by the middle of 2026 is going to be called alternatives. Okay, I'm giving you like a new word to think about. Right now, just think about Ethereum. The whole financial system is going to run on Ethereum. I just posted today the whole banking system worldwide. I've said this for 5 years because I did the homework. I just posted it. The whole world of global banking is going to run on Ripple, on XRP and stablecoins. And is it possible that like the war is being used as cover to like roll out this new system? Absolutely. It's me and Catherine Austin Fitts have been saying it for 5 years. In different ways. I, go, Linda, I do goofy stuff. She's an investment banker, former undersecretary of HUD. She's brilliant. But we're telling you the same thing. There's this new system that runs on blockchain and increasingly on AI. Okay. So this Canvas thing is, think of it just as a big tool to get control of your portfolio. Now, it will be, wait for it, free. It will be free to the first 5,000 Bruno subscribers. Free. Okay. Tell a friend. If you want something else to look up, our custodian will be Altruist. That's a fairly young company, which is now the third largest custodian in America behind Fidelity and Charles Schwab. It will be free to our subscribers. We're trying to make this a place where not just get headlines and funny videos like TikTok. That's sort of my shtick on TikTok, which I'm not on anymore, but really make this a resource for you, as I'd like to say in the past. So all these things that are happening, you don't crash out. You can wake up one morning and see missiles flying and go, are they going to run the whole global banking system on Ripple? Yes. Are they going to run like all this new investment stuff on Ethereum? Yes. What's the market cap of Ethereum? Well, I just told you the global thing is 100 trillion. We're half of that. We're 50 trillion. Ethereum's 200 billion. Ethereum's like 1/3 of 1%. You could almost, just to be crude about it, you could almost sit around and say, this is the point where I should say this is not investment advice. This is clearly, I'm recruiting subscribers to a marketing and research platform called Bruno Podcast, which is actually registered as a philosophy platform. Short Palantir, long Ethereum. Let's just have fun with that for a second, because that right there is that's a philosophical thesis, a hypothesis, that the world is going to push back against the kill chain. And the world is going to increasingly want to be on tech, using blockchain, using AI, making investments, moving money around, getting to know people, building communities, etc., without the threat of, as Alex Karp said, getting sprayed by a drone filled with fentanyl-laced urine. I didn't make that up. That's something that he said, that he's an insane person. And insane people are running big tech. Larry Ellison owns 41% of Oracle. Larry Ellison is trying to buy pretty much all of TikTok. That's already a done deal. All of Paramount, all of Warner Brothers, all of CBS, like half of American media. I don't think this works, people. I think this whole project with Palantir at the tip. This is the moment where I go get my hat. This thing is in trouble. This thing is in trouble. And everything that can, I mean, look at the symbol. The symbol says it all. It's basically like an all-seeing eye. It's the Palantir from Lord of the Rings, by the way. I think it's in trouble. I think big tech is in trouble. It's not that we're going to all turn off our iPhones and iPads and computers. It's that we're going to increasingly look for a more multipolar world, which brings us to our next project. So I just explained to you our investment advisor will be called Town and Country Advisors. We will have within not the month, we're trying to do a soft rollout by April 1 with a hard rollout April 15th of what's called a robo-advisor. And that's what I just described to you is the custodian will be altruist. And the product that we'll really champion is this Canvas thing by Franklin Templeton. Secondly, for subscribers and non-subscribers, we've signed an MOU with Aragon. They're one of the first Ethereum DAO platforms. Nobody uses the word DAO anymore because they're too chaotic. But the next big move in Ethereum is going to be for you to log into the internet like you do with Apple, like you do with Facebook, like you do with Google with Ethereum. Okay? We're going to send you a token for subscribers for the first 5,000 people. Go get a Coinbase wallet. Get a Coinbase account, buy some Ethereum, just a little bit, whatever floats your boat. If you like Bitcoin, I'm not a big Bitcoin person. Get the wallet and get ready to have a token delivered to you. We will eventually, probably within the next week or two, send you an email, whether you're a subscriber or not, and say, welcome to Bruno's podcast. Are you ready to receive your Ethereum token? Your Ethereum token will then be used for a third project for access to an AI agent, a proprietary partnership with Bruno and Agent Hub that you will be able to operate on. Won't go into it. It's too much to take in today. Okay, probably 2 Saturdays from now. But just keep running that allocation in your head. The United States is half of the world's market cap. Half of that is big tech, and that big tech is a problem politically, financially, etc. So we're providing you solutions for $9.95 a month. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think what we've done is we've priced it too low. The reason I priced it so, why isn't it $49.95 or $199.95 per month? I mean, if you just look at the things that I just laid out for you, it's like, if you'd go try to build these yourself, you're like tens of thousands of dollars. And the real genius of it is there'll be 5,000 of you operating these platforms all at the same time. Okay. I don't want to go into like all the details. It's just too much to take in. But your perception of what technology is going to shift away from large corporations on the NASDAQ to things like Anthropic, which just went through a political battle with Pentagon, much to my point, and other things like Ethereum, which we'll see increasingly be seen as a place to escape. You know, your Apple product now has an Israeli-based system reading your eyeballs, just like you read eyeballs with your friends and family, right? Are you feeling, you look at somebody now, are you feeling okay? Are you this? Did you get enough sleep? No, you can see it in their eyes. Well, the AI can do that without any problem. We are now being perpetually surveilled by an Israeli technology coming through our iPhones. That's a problem, people. That's a problem. So we have solutions. We have solutions. Lastly, here on the West Coast, there's hundreds of thousands of tech people that just got laid off from other industries too, but I'm just mainly focusing on tech. These are very sophisticated people, made six figures, have a nice life in the Silicon Valley, in Seattle, and Southern California, etc. We are going to recruit them to this platform to become advisors. That'll be rolled out at the end of this year. So the Robo-Advisors has no people in it. It's just a computer-based, algorithmic, AI-based product to help you manage your account. If you want people, that'll come in the second half. A person to talk to, that'll come in the second half of this year. DM me, email me, send me funny pictures. Have a nice weekend. Let's see if we can go out with some music, because I'm rarely able to pull that off. Oh, Armageddon tomorrow. Get a little crazy. I'll give you a hint. It's not just a political problem. There's other technologies that can attack this. We'll do that tomorrow.